Diamondbacks got a average to below average appearance from their starter, Zach Gallen, who, as we talked about earlier in the show, just not good enough.
Yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag. You know whose thoughts I'm curious on Zach Gallen's outing? A man who actually got to hear from and talk to Zach Gallen after Game 1, and that, of course, is our own Alex Weiner, who is calling in from Globe Life Field in Arlington after a 6-5, 11-inning loss to the Texas Rangers in Game 1 of this World Series. Alex, first of all, hi, how are you?
Hi.
I just want to make sure, because there was the one game where you just wanted to make sure, yeah, we're good, it's fine. Because you've been traveling a lot, man, and we are always appreciative of the work you're doing. And I want to know, first and foremost, what you take away, particularly from Zach Gallen's outing tonight.
Yeah, again, first inning, it's been tough. I mean, that's 4 out of his 5 postseason starts where he's given up multiple runs in the first inning. I think it was 2-2, 2-2-2. So, and third in a row. We did that twice against the Phillies. So, yeah, they got on him early. He said they were laying off him some pitches that, you know, he felt were decent pitches out of the zone, came back over it, and he got hit hard and just falling behind too many hitters early. But from there, he was aggressive. I think he hit a 0-2 count on 4 batters or 5 batters in a row, got a few strikeouts. And, you know, after the 2 runs in the first inning, he gave up 1 run over the next 4. That's more like it. So at the end of the day, he put them, at least he had them in position, potentially go get a win. Got to the 5th inning after throwing 60-something pitches through 3 innings. So it certainly wasn't the sharpest, but, you know, after a pretty difficult first inning, he was, you know, much better about starting off hitters with strikes, and he was able to get at least deep enough into the game to get their A-list bullpen guys in there and try to bridge the gap.
I don't know that Torey Lovullo would even consider Zach Gallen for a Game 4, seeing as how he refused to pitch him on short rest in the NLCS. I know Game 4 is Tuesday, so that is a pretty quick turnaround. I don't even think Zach Gallen's in discussion in my mind right now for a Game 4. I think that they have to figure it out with somebody else. And this isn't me being overly critical of Zach Gallen. It's just, if he can't do it on regular rest, how do we expect him to be the ace on short rest?
I mean, you got to look at the innings that he's built up this entire year. I mean, he's never surpassed 200 innings in a season. After tonight's game, I have to go back and calculate, but I think he's up around 240 innings for the season. So it's a significantly increased workload this year compared to any other year he's had in pro ball. So it's not only just like, you know, can he go on short rest? Can he muscle it out? But it's you know, they're going to have to handle this the way that they can keep him healthy and able to go while also trying to get the most out of him. So it's a difficult balance. I can't see it doing good. Can't see them going short rest there. He mentioned that, you know, or Torey Lovullo mentioned before the series started, it would be Gallen, Kelly, Fott, and then they'll figure it out on the 4th day. I imagine it'll be something quite similar to what we saw in Game 4 against the Phillies.
Well, so it's funny you mentioned that, because we noticed that the roster going into this World Series, they added Jace Peterson back, and they took Slade Ciccone off. And it almost feels kind of painfully coincidental, ironic, I don't know which word it is, that here they are, Game 1 of the World Series, they have to go to extra innings, and then they'll have to do a bullpen game 3 games from now, and they're down 1 pitcher.
Yeah, I'm making jokes in the press box of this game was going to go 18 innings, and they left Slade Ciccone off, and Jace Peterson wasn't even going to get at bat. So, yeah, it's just kind of how it worked. They didn't end up needing, you know, Ryan Nelson or Slade Ciccone much in that Phillies series. They played cleanup duty. They probably could have gone without one of the two. Neither of them factored into Game 4. So the thinking there was they would have liked to have had another left-handed bat who could play in the infield available off the bench. That's what Peterson can give you. And with one of those 2 guys as sort of the cleanup role, can eat innings, that's what they went with. So, yeah, you know, in a game like this, you don't anticipate necessarily going to extra innings in the first game. And, you know, it's a tough way to lose. But, you know, if this game goes 16 innings, then you probably need Ryan Nelson at some point, and that gives you questions. But I don't know. They didn't need either of those 2 guys in a bullpen game last series. So
Talking with our D-backs insider, Alex Weiner, who is live from deep in the heart of Texas. Adolis Garcia is the hero tonight, and I want to talk a little bit about him because late in the NLCS, the Diamondbacks figured out a way to approach Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper that worked for them. They were going to pitch around them, not intentionally walk them, but kind of, if we walk them, that's better than them hitting the ball over the wall, which Schwarber did 5 times. Is that an approach they need to take with Garcia, considering the fact that he's swinging at almost everything? Now, he's hitting a lot of it. Don't get me wrong. He's on another level. But this guy has 1 walk this entire postseason. Only 1. Is it time to start avoiding the strike zone around Adolis Garcia?
Hey, that 1 walk was today. So you say what you will. He ended up working a walk. And, a big reason why the Diamondbacks lost this game was because they walked 10 hitters. And so, they were pitching around Corey Seager a little bit early, and he walked twice, and he scored both times. So, yeah, it worked against the Phillies for the most part, but I don't know if you want to fall in love with being okay walking guys. Obviously, they're going to pitch around them. It's, they're not going to try to walk them, but they're going to be careful with those 2 guys. And I don't think the game plan was ever to not be careful with those 2 guys. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't imagine that. I don't know what the best way to kind of answer this is, but I can't imagine that they would, try to, be okay with walking these guys. I just feel like they're gonna be careful. It is what it is. You guys are hot.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, let's switch to some of the guys that are tasked with facing Garcia, particularly the core 4, more so that it has been for most of this postseason, kind of showing some cracks in the armor, and mostly highlighted Seawald, but it was really Thompson and Ginkel as well, in terms of Thompson had a 4-pitch walk. I believe it was with 2 outs in the inning. Ginkel allowed a couple of runners on, like really taxing innings from all 3 of those guys tonight. Is this kind of now the first moment that we've really seen the weakness of those 3?
I mean, this was the worst game collectively that they've pitched this postseason, most assuredly. You're right. None of them were particularly sharp. That's a really, really tough inning from Ginkel. He ends up getting out of it. But in doing so and letting a couple of base runners get on, just kind of looking over the score sheet here, I mean, the walks, again, just crushing in this game for the Diamondbacks, and it impacted all 3 of those guys. By letting a couple of runners get on, that allows the Rangers to flip the order in the bottom of the 9th, and that gives Corey Seager an opportunity there. And then obviously Seawald walking the leadoff hitter, Leody Taveras, good player, but he's not the guy you want to walk ahead of Semien, Seager, and Carter. So, I mean, it just gave them an opportunity to tie the game, and he gets Semien out, but first pitch to Corey Seager, it's a fastball up, and to Seawald, based on the way that Seager jumped on that pitch, that felt like after the game, Seawald, or that's the pitch that Seager was anticipating first pitch. And Seager after the game said, well, when you face good pitchers, you don't want to give them one. So he attacked that first pitch he saw was a strike, and that's it. And you end up going to extra innings, and the walks hurt again, but ultimately it was the home run that did it.
The T-backs offense had no issue jumping on Nate Eovaldi early in this one. Tomorrow for Game 2, they get the lefty, Jordan Montgomery, who's been good, perfect record of 3-0. The ERA is right around 2. Everything looks, hunky-dory, but then you look at the opposing batting averages, and he's very hittable. How different will the lineup look tomorrow for a game against a lefty starter? And is that a good thing?
Yeah, they've seen Montgomery a couple times this year. He pitched against them last time they played each other back at Chase Field. There's some familiarity there. I imagine the lineup would look similar to what we've seen against left-handed pitching. Patel will move up, Corbin will move down to 2, and we'll see what they do as far as the Alek Thomas, Emmanuel Rivera swap. I mean, they did that against the Phillies, and it ended up working out okay, especially in Game 7 when Rivera gets single and starts this inning where they come back when they were down 2-1 and they take a 3-2 lead. And then Thomas will play a role later in the game. So if that's an option, or you leave Thomas in there for his defense, got a couple hits today, although they were both in the infield. Yeah, I think it would be kind of business as usual.
Alex Weiner, who's our lead writer covering the Diamondbacks for us at Arizona Sports, joining us from Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas. To stick with the struggles that the team has had offensively, I'm looking at the statistic for on-base percentage of Christian Walker in this postseason, and it's .351, which is great. The problem is it is also worth half of his OPS so far this postseason. Do you personally anticipate any sort of change when it comes to Christian, at worst case, his spot in the order tomorrow?
Personally, I mean, I wouldn't think so. I mean, he's been their cleanup hitter all year, so I wouldn't imagine it to change. Yeah, he's having a tough stretch. Today was another tough day for him. He's been walking a decent amount. The walk rate's been high, but yeah, he hasn't really been able to barrel up anything. But I mean, they're not going to turn away from that at this point in the season. I'd be pretty surprised by that.
Is there any scenario where you could see Jordan Lawler getting a call for one game, at least to start, to try to fill a void at the bottom of this lineup where Evan Longoria, I realize he scores today, Emmanuel Rivera has struggled at times. Is there any scenario where you think Jordan Lawler, the rookie, gets on the field to try to jumpstart this offense at the bottom of the lineup?
Not as a starter. I mean, they've really hardly used him at all this postseason. And, you know, he has a roster spot. He's there for a reason still. But I think it's more of an emergency deal. Like if this game kept going and they made some defensive adjustments and they made pitch runners and all that kind of stuff, that's more likely the situation. But they haven't started him. They haven't really used him as a pinch hitter much in any sort of high leverage or any situation like that. So no, I wouldn't think so.
Last one, at least from me, Steve. I don't know if you have another one to ask Alex. But Merrill Kelly going at it tomorrow. He looked awesome in his last start against the Phillies in Game 6. What's kind of your expectation for what Merrill will get tomorrow in terms of, I guess, workload, more so than anything else?
Again, I think it'll be pretty similar to what we've seen out of him. I mean, yeah, last time they clipped him a little bit early just because they had it set up with the bullpen the way that they wanted, so they let him go 5. They pulled him. He had a very good final inning there. Yeah, I think, get through the order a couple of times, see where he's at, extend him if he's going well. I think it'll be pretty similar to the way that they've handled him. I know the bullpen's a little bit, taxed, a lot of pressure pitches. So that'll certainly play a role into it. Maybe they lean on him further. But I mean, I don't expect 115 pitches out of him, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, understandable. Hey, Alex Weiner, our D-backs insider, on the road once again for the 4th time now. Well, I guess even more than that when you consider how long the series have been, but been covering the team for us on the road and at home all postseason long.
Is there anything on the Dallas/Arlington bucket list?
Cowboy boots?
I have not come up with a bucket list for Dallas/Arlington. So if anybody knows anything, just hit me up.
The JFK Assassination Museum?
Oh my God.
I'm just serious.
I know you're serious. But
I grew up in Dallas. I know what's going on in Dallas.
Well, then why don't you send me some bucket list ideas?
Right,
I know nothing about Dallas.
Yeah, the JFK Museum, kind of interesting, although it's a little weird because that's where he died. South Fork Ranch, where they filmed the TV show Dallas. You could go there. Jerry World's just across the street if you want to go after the game.
I know.
What about a food staple? Do you got a food staple for Alex?
No, not really.
All right. Well, just text Alex.
All right. We'll do that.
And if you know stuff about Dallas, tweet Alex at Alex J. Weiner on Twitter.
My parents live in Dallas. They'll make you a good meal.
I'll take it.
He's hesitant. I can tell. All right. Thanks, Alex. Appreciate you checking in, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Alex.
All right. Appreciate you guys.